Varun, I will hand it over to you. Please take us through the company's presentation.
Yes, good evening, everybody. Like Ravi said,
sorry, Varun, sorry to interrupt. If you can just tilt the screen a little bit towards you, because yeah, too much headspace. Yeah, now you can go ahead. Yeah.
Right, right. So as Ravi said, the context, very few times, that we get such an opportunity to discuss an industry which is, so to say, a caterpillar to butterfly. The pond is so large, and to get the right opportunity, which is going to go through right from a small fish to a big fish. We've seen it in the past, maybe in the early days of technology or early days of chemical industry, so to say. So we're going to discuss several facets of both the industry and the company. But the broad message is that the first principle of wealth creation is that we need to have a very large demand opportunity. And this is right now getting driven by one of the factors is the next industrial revolution, so to say, is knocking at our doorstep through the net zero commitments given by all the countries. And we are obviously going to look at several vertical and horizontal perspectives of that. So what is really driving this solar wave, so to say? One is the COP26 UN summit, which started off, which was basically pledging of reduced carbon emission over the next few decades. Second is solar is actually the cheapest form of energy source ever discovered. And that is leading to energy costs being so low to make it more versatile, to make it more user-friendly for all around, both industrial application, residential application, or even large-scale utility. Energy costs are going up and energy consumption is going up. Both these factors are coming together, which are in some way accelerating the need for energy independence. For how long do we continue to import our energy from the Middle East? So obviously everybody is looking to be energy independent. Geopolitics is also driving renewables ambition, because ultimately the pricing power of emission of energy is with the Middle East or a few nations. And in some way, solar, so to say, provides you that kind of independence from energy imports. Commercial and residential demand is adding to solar demand, and due to net metering across the world, low costs, reliability, energy independence, I've already said. So that is further even adding to demand. Green hydrogen, green ammonia, right now, it's not really the present, but the future. And we'll see how much of global demand it's going to add to solar wave. So what is really causing India to become both a demand source and a supplier? So world is seeking for an alternate manufacturing supply beyond China, and that's really creating a massive export opportunity for India. Regulations in India related to basic custom duty, PLI, is also favoring domestic solar demand or capacity addition. And obviously ESG consciousness or forced labor issues in some of the countries have only added to the need for a country which can be an alternate to China. Finally, US regulations are playing a lot on China plus one, so to say, and that is why the Southeast Asian nations are really truly rising in the export opportunity. Just a broad 30,000 feet overview. Till 5 years back, the world was installing close to 160 gigawatt of annual average installation. So today we stand at 1.2 terawatt. 1 terawatt is 1000 gigawatt, and 1000 gigawatt is 1 gigawatt is 1000 megawatt. So that's the scale. Going forward, we see over the next 3-4 years in excess of 350-400 gigawatt annual average capacity addition. But eventually we will reach a point in the next 8-10 years of more than 1 terawatt, that is 1000 gigawatt of annual capacity addition. Once we have the storage cog in place, once we have the green hydrogen, green ammonia ecosystem really take off. So all the countries, all the major countries are really galloping on their regulatory bit, their announcements, their willingness to spend on this, and actions are really happening on the ground. This is basically the broad solar value chain, starting from polysilicon to ingot to wafer, and from wafer is cell manufactured. The cell, solar glass, the module, other components come together to form the solar module, and that integrated with storage or inverters lead to large scale adoption for solar utilities. Solar modules are, of course, also being used for commercial and residential applications. So Waaree today is a module manufacturer, and we'll see in subsequent slides how it is building also backward integration capabilities. I think we all know this, but just to emphasize the degree, China's domination across the industries, the segments of the industries, which is polysilicon to module, China controls anywhere from 80 to 90%. But this dominance is gradually reducing. Even a 5-10% shift creates a very large opportunity for the beneficiaries like India and some of the smaller Southeast Asian nations. Recently, MNRE, which is the Ministry of Renewables, came out with an intent that the next 5 years or they intend to come out with almost 40 gigawatt of tenders annually for solar capacity addition, and this is only in India. Just to give a context how big it is, today India has is adding close to 15 gigawatt, and the ambition is to more than triple that. Ravi, please come in to fill me in case I forget, in case I miss any point.
Sure.
This is the export opportunity. Basically, China +1, US and Europe regulations, everything is coming together to accelerate the opportunity available for Southeast Asia, India to really provide the world. So something that began a few years back was the ban on import of material from Xinjiang region of China. Then we had the IRA now that is coming, that is intending to in-source manufacturing, some part of manufacturing also. So all of these combined are finally ESG, compliance, best practices, supply chain diversification is in some sense pushing the world towards finding an alternate to China. And like we said in the previous slides, the China's share of the entire solar value chain is very high, and that's why the world is looking for an alternate. And very few countries have all the factors of production, regulation, compliances, and scale to become the partner of choice. Green hydrogen and green ammonia, a lot is in the media. Today, I think the cost of production is somewhere like $8 to $9, and the world will move it down to $2 in the next few years. But what exactly is green hydrogen and green ammonia is basically backed by solar. So 1 million metric ton of green hydrogen requires 20 to 25 gigawatt of solar capacity to support the power requirement. And 1 million metric ton of green ammonia needs 5 to 7 gigawatt. So India has put out its green hydrogen policy that they need 5 million metric tons. That requires 125 gigawatt of solar capacity addition or renewable capacity addition. But I can't overemphasize that within renewables, solar is the only technology that is versatile, that is scalable, and that is cost effective. So coming to our point of discussion around the company Waaree Energies, there is...
Sorry, Varun, if I can just come in here.
Yes,
You
yes.
covered the opportunity part. I just wanted to, just want to give some this thing. So if you have questions, please do ask in the chat box. Please don't raise your hand. There will be no Q&A happening during the presentation, but most of the questions we will try and answer through the presentation itself. So most of the questions regarding the technology, competitive intensity and all do get answered. If not, we will try and get the answers from the management as well. But so please feel free to ask your questions in the chat. Yeah, please go ahead, Varun.
Yes, so exponential growth, highly profitable, highly capital efficient, and these are in some way the building blocks of creating outsized return. We will look at some. So Waaree Energies, okay, coming to the company. Just to give a overview, a snapshot, what are the tangibles, what are the intangibles? So amongst the tangibles, so revenue CAGR for last 5 and 10 years has been close to 40% CAGR. Return on capital employed for last 10 years have been 20%, for last 5 years have been more than 20. And these are at 50% capacity utilization. The reason why capacity utilization was low till recently was because there was no regulatory support. BCD actually came in 1st April 22. So the industry before BCD came in was operating at low capacity utilization because of Chinese dumping, etc. Waaree is time tested on its working capital management and leverage metrics. We will show the data. The absolute revenue scale has gone from 300 crores in 2013, 10 years back, to 6,800 crores plus today. It is amongst the largest rooftop solar retail franchise in India, close to 800 crores. Capacity in 2007 was 30 megawatt. It rose to 2000 megawatt in FY22, and today it stands at 9,000 megawatt, and we will soon be reaching 12,000 megawatt in about 2 or 3 months from now. Order book is at 45,000 crores. I don't think so there is any precedent of any company, private sector, having this kind of an order book, which is non-EPC or non-infra, so to say. A large domestic and global sales team, which we will delve ahead. It won a PLI from Government of India on ingot to module, which is a 6 gigawatt project. The amount of PLI from the central government is 1924 crores. We will see some detail ahead. It is the largest approved list of module manufacturer, listed capacity in India, 9 gigawatt. To have the largest cell manufacturing capacity by March 24, that is 5.4 gigawatt, 5,400 megawatt. Amongst the intangibles, it has more than 10 years of industry-leading growth with very robust business financial model. It is the largest non-Chinese solar photovoltaic capacity in the world, amongst the largest, I would say. Global certifications to supply high-efficiency modules backed by global reinsurers like Munich Re. We will see that detail. Order book from some of the largest solar platforms in the world. meaningful advances from customers, thus is capital efficient. Waaree is ready for a roadmap to grow from 9 gigawatt to 20 gigawatt in the next less than 4 years, and it will be amongst the largest non-Chinese global players. There are several growth optionalities related to technology JVs, the green hydrogen ecosystem, the green energy ecosystem. We'll see some details. It is built for scale because of the way the supply chain, the partnerships that it has forged with its technology and supply chain partners. KPMG is the internal auditor and EY is the statutory auditor. Not to delve deeper, but Waaree has all the building blocks of accelerated growth and building sustainable competitive advantage. This is the long journey that the promoter and Waaree team has went through. I just want to flag, in 2007, we had 30 megawatt. Today, we're talking about moving to 20,000 megawatt. 2011 is when the promoter exited instruments business and set up, I think, close to 200 megawatt odd of manufacturing capacity. So again, a long track record of operational experience. So close to 12 gigawatt, which Waaree will be in the next 2-3 months, and en route to 18 gigawatt, Waaree will be amongst the large companies in the world. Also 5.4 gigawatt of cell capacity that is coming on stream by end of the year, 6 gigawatt of module. Sorry. This is the senior leadership. Hitesh Doshiji is the chairman, managing director, and founder, and other senior level leaders. The second level leadership, very, very strong and again, seasoned. Waaree is the largest enlisted approved list of manufacturers. ALMM, I have already mentioned, and is amongst the only capable to be able to manufacture M12, which is the highest efficiency module today in the world. This is the Waaree Chikhli plant. It's an hour from Navsari, Gujarat. 7 gigawatt module manufacturing and 5.4 gigawatt of cell. Just another picture of that. So Waaree has embarked on a 2-year journey with KPMG for their SOPs, for plant optimization, for their compliances, a lot of processes, because ultimately building such large scale over such a short period is going to be challenging. That's the KPMG roadmap and the areas that Waaree is working on. So yeah, so we're going to discuss a few competitive advantages of Waaree. So today, Waaree has amongst the largest global platforms listed on its, and their suppliers, Waaree supplies to them. These platforms are some of the global leaders in solar capacity or solar utilities. So for example, Total Energies, Clearway, CIM, they have 10, 20 gigawatt and more of pipeline ahead. And Waaree is part of their ecosystem to be as a supplier partner of choice. If you see the export data for the last 3 years, if we focus on the top line, Waaree Energies, Waaree has been doing close to north of 50%, this year 70% market share of exports from India. So from India, there was 7,000 crores of export for FY23. Waaree did 4,880 crores of exports, that's 70% market share, and most of it was to US. This is a very important slide. So today, Waaree's order book as on March 23 is 17.5 gigawatt, close to 45,000 crores. Advances received are nearly 3,400 crores, and expected advances are over $1 billion. Again, I don't think there is any precedent to a private sector company of this kind of a scale. Some of the other competitive advantages is that Waaree is amongst the few bankable partners for global customers, and Waaree honored its commitment even during the most challenging period of COVID, or when the logistics costs went up meaningfully, whereas all the Chinese actually did not meet their legal obligations. So Waaree has built a very good name in the US market. Obviously, that leads to network effect with all the utilities. In terms of the bankability of the products, so to say, Waaree is amongst the few Asian suppliers, non-Chinese suppliers. Very strong balance sheet definitely leads to more customer confidence. Indian manufacturers are benefiting out of China Plus One, benefiting out of US government mandate towards higher ESG compliance and such. Procuring from India also is safer for US utilities, because then they don't come under the purview of any kind of compliance risks that US regulations are imposing. This is the supply chain relationships that Waaree has built over the years. Some of the global leaders in terms of R&D or cell technology or wafer technology, they are some of the global leaders in their own domain. So third competitive advantage of Waaree is that in terms of manufacturing capacity, Waaree is already miles ahead of others. I'm not even getting into the details of utilization bit, but or order book, but in terms of pure nameplate capacity, Waaree is already miles ahead of others. And this is expandable to 12 gigawatt, like we discussed, and an additional 6 gigawatt will happen through PLI. So Waaree would actually reach close to 18 gigawatt in less than 3 years from now. In terms of cell is 60% of the value of a solar module. So a very, very important technology to understand. Waaree has long experience in operating a cell plant. By end of the year, Waaree will be 5.4 gigawatt of cell backward integration. It will be largest in India and amongst the largest non-Chinese. This is moment of truth in some way. Action speaks louder than word. Waaree's 10 years of operating history. So if we go through the data, 2013 to 2023, 10 years back, Waaree was at 300 crores. Today, it's at 6,800 crores, compounding its revenue at more than 40% CAGR consistently. Capacity utilization, like I emphasized earlier, was at 50% because industry had a lot of Chinese dumping. Regulations were not in place. Now they are. But despite low utilization, despite no regulatory support, despite realizations being low, the export market had not opened till 2022 actually. Yet if we see the return ratios track record, it has been doing 20% ROC for last 10 years, even in the most challenging environment. So somebody buying a module and buying thousands of megawatt of it. And let me give you a context of what does 1 megawatt of module mean in terms of size and scale. So 1 megawatt of module requires 3 40-feet containers to transport. Now, Waaree is looking to have a production of close to, let's say, 7,000 megawatt going forward. It would require more than 28,000 containers. So that is the scale of operations. An OEM which is buying a module has to buy the module for it to perform for more than 20 years. And that is why all these certifications related to performance, related to quality standards, related to best practices have to be in place for a large solar utility to purchase or to have confidence with the supplier. Similarly, third-party insurance is a very important element, and we'll spend a minute on that. So these certifications take anywhere between 4 to 6 years from the time capacity addition comes on stream to the bank audits, vendor due diligence, the customer audits, etc., etc. So these module warranties are very, very important for these utilities to meet their IRRs. And that is why there are very few suppliers which actually would qualify for reinsurance, for bankability, for performance warranties, etc. Every module has to stand the test of time of more than 20-25 years of performance, and that is why it must stand so many tests, and Waaree is amongst the lowest rejection rates in the industry. A lot of JVs, a lot of optionalities, a lot of new businesses have been seeded, which will be an additional growth driver for Waaree apart from the module and the entire solar value chain. So, for example, the Merlin module is basically bendable solar modules, and then we will be soon moving into the BIPV modules, which is building photovoltaics. Then there is floating solar projects, there is EPC, there is O&M. The industry, I can't overemphasize, is just about beginning and beaming with opportunities. So TOPCon is the current generation of high efficiency modules, and this is setting world records in terms of module efficiency. 10 years back, we used to be at module efficiency of high teens, and today the TOPCon, which is N-type, is already nearing 22 to 24% efficiency. Let me explain this. So on a fixed piece of land, the module size also remains the same, but you have higher efficiency modules, which leads to higher power generation. So there is a virtuous cycle that gets created in terms of the IRR for large scale utilities. So Waaree today is at 9 gigawatt of TOPCon capacity, the highest energy efficiency module today. And for the next 8-10 years, this is going to be the technology that is going to be in use. So the entire ecosystem of manufacturing and being a supplier is coming together. Stars are aligning. Atmanirbhar Bharat, which is basically the BCD coming, the regulations coming in place, the PLI coming in place, the infrastructure support, the government policies, and so many other state incentives, etc. All things are connecting together to create that wave of opportunity that is ahead of us, and this is just a beginning. Every day there are announcements related to the industry. For example, yesterday UP government has announced that they will waive off stamp duty for any solar capacity related land acquisition. This is the recent PLI order that came out. Waaree won 6 gigawatt wafer to module project. It's amongst the largest in the country. There were 5 winners in this segment, which is wafer to module, and Waaree was 2x larger than the. So it was amongst the largest, and The project cost will be close to 8,000 crores. A large part of the project's cost will be recovered through both the central government PLI and the state government incentives. So this is rooftop solar. Now, rooftop solar has its own tailwind, is its own role to play. This is happening because energy costs are really rising, and solar gives you energy cost at the cheapest possible ever. So rooftop solar is growing at 25-30%. Waaree today is amongst the largest rooftop solar retail company, very profitable, very capital efficient part of the business. Today it's at 800 crores and has the right to win to become a very large opportunity for Waaree, several thousand crores. So just to summarize, it is kind of said that this industry is commodity or low entry barriers, but there might be several large players, few large players, but there's a long tail of small players, but very few which can really check all the boxes to become a globally large relevant player, to become a supplier of choice for global customers. Some questions that we constantly get asked, and which the industry is kind of navigating through, and that's where corporate culture really matters. This is a very operationally intensive and needs operational excellence. So, for example, RM volatility, how is Waaree managing that? So their legal contracts with the customers are fully inbuilt for any kind of variation clauses for large raw material volatility. All their contracts are FOB, so even covers for variation logistics costs. Capex intensity, Waaree is amongst the most capital efficient module manufacturer with very high return on capital. We've seen the data earlier that even at low realization, low capacity utilization, it is able to do 20% return on capital. We can imagine what can happen when utilizations improve. Realizations are already much higher than history. So for backward integration, which is very capex intensive, Waaree already has the support of the PLI and the state incentives, and the payback periods of these projects are very healthy. Competitive intensity, so optically the entry barriers are low, but very few companies have been able to build scale, win large export orders. There is no other company in India which have been able to demonstrate such large order wins and at very healthy prices, at very healthy terms. Technology shifts. So contrary to popular belief, technology shifts are not sudden, but over the years, usually over 5-10 years. And there is a gradual shift that is possible through internal accruals, which itself also have very healthy payback ratios. So Waaree is ready with 9 gigawatt of TOPCon manufacturing that is anyways relevant for the next several years. Regulation is actually moving favorably towards China Plus One, also for domestic demand, etc. Green hydrogen regulation is also moving favorably, which will further spur global solar demand. Return on capital is actually an outcome of high utilization, high realization, working capital management, and capital intensity, which is what Waaree has clearly demonstrated to have championed. There is always this question of some of the large conglomerates are entering the business, and what would it do? We can assure so to say, with all the evidence that is publicly available, that the demand opportunity is so large, it can absorb several large conglomerates. Reliance will be adding more than 100 gigawatt of solar PV demand over the next decade, adding to the solar PV demand, I must emphasize. Adani, with its utility and energy ambitions, even though probably tapered a little bit, will also add to a huge demand to the industry. This is not a winner-take-all industry. This is not somebody who can build monopoly. There are several global companies with more than 50 gigawatt of capacity even today. And we are talking about Waaree getting to just about 20 gigawatt in 3-4 years. Skepticism around that we are dependent, India is dependent on Chinese for their technology. So again, let me provide some evidence that a company called Centrotherm out of Germany has recently received 10 gigawatt of orders for cell technology from India. So it's basically German and Chinese which have the technology. Coming to the final section, what exactly is possible? So India is seeing all the factors of production moving to its favor. Land acquisition and prices, logistics, regulation, power costs, labor costs are actually more favorable in India today than at China. And there's clear evidence available of that. Government support and subsidy, geopolitics obviously is driving China plus one. So very few countries really have all the connecting dots to build a very large ecosystem. These are not estimates, but what is possible. So today, Waaree is at 7 gigawatt of module, at 6,800 crores odd of revenue. Now, what is really possible in the next 3-4 years? It will get to 6 gigawatt of wafer manufacturing, close to 11 gigawatt of cell, close to 18 gigawatt of module. Even if we assume 65-70% capacity utilization, even if we assume low realization, which is 2.5 to 2.7 crore per megawatt, it comes to more than 30,000 crores of revenue. The gross margins will rise because of backward integration increasing, and similarly the EBITDA margins. So Waaree has an opportunity to become one of the largest manufacturing companies in the country, in India. Now, these utilizations, are they really possible? So we have several global players. We will show some examples. So LONGi today is a global leader. It is now getting to over 100 gigawatt of wafer manufacturing, over 65 gigawatt of module. But if you see the utilizations, leaving aside CY21, because capacity additions happened, that's why utilization is looking low, it's able to operate at easily above 90%. So why isn't it possible for some of our Indian players? I leave it to your imagination. This is ultimately a manufacturing company, not a software company. So is this kind of scale up really possible? So these are the two global leaders, LONGi and Jinko. They have increased their capacity by more than 10 times in the last 5 years. So for example, LONGi was at 5 gigawatt, 5 to 8 gigawatt, today is at 150 gigawatt of wafer. In terms of module, it was at 5-7 gigawatt, and today it's at 80 gigawatt. So the playbook has an evidence globally. All this capacity addition led to revenues. So close to $300 million of revenue for Longi in 2013 is today at $12 billion in CY21. Similarly for J Solar, and obviously the market caps have gone up in consequent to that. Return on capital, if we see of these global players, are also very healthy. Again, evidence. This is First Solar. This is actually listed in Nasdaq and kind of comparable to Waaree. This is actually 1.7 gigawatt of Waaree. In terms of order book, it was at 10 gigawatt order book just 3 years back, and today it's at 70 gigawatt. Just to give a context, 1 megawatt is close to 3 crores, so 70 gigawatt is 70,000 megawatt. That's more than 2.5 lakh crores of order book. So Waaree today at close to 50,000 crores of order book may seem large, but if we see the context of some of the global players, we can see the runway ahead. And First Solar, incidentally, is building the largest capacity in India. It's building in Chennai, close to 5,500 crores of investment. And according to their presentation, they themselves see 100 gigawatt of pipeline over the next few years. So just like every other industry, and India has a representation in terms of market cap, in terms of revenue and profit pool. These are the global peers. Their aggregate market cap is $145 billion. These are the solar and cell manufacturers globally. Their revenue is close to $60 billion. Their EBITDA is close to $5.8 billion. And they are at a net income of $3 billion. So I would assume that India also would have a representation in this peer set as any other industry, as one of the mega caps, Waaree or so many other players. These are the 1 year forward valuation multiples of some of these players. One is noticing the absolute market cap, more than $15-20 billion, and the other is the valuation multiple. 1 year forward, median multiple is close to 15 times. 1 year forward, EV by EBITDA is close to 11-12 times. This is by research by IIFL that Waaree is amongst the very few companies with more than 30% return on capital, which have grown for the last 3 years at this space. There are very few companies globally. Finally, I mean, our endeavor as a firm is always to find scalable companies which can truly build industry leadership. And we feel Waaree has all the building blocks in place, tangible or intangible, or management capability to build that global leadership. And building scale with capital efficiency is as much important. And those building blocks are there in place. Ravi, over to you for connecting dots on this.
Ken. So before we bring in Hitesh ji on this, and Varun, you can go ahead and just add him to the panel. There are a few questions that we've got on the chat, and I'm going to try and answer some of those. So one question, and this will be in no particular order. I mean, I have noted it down. So, but I'll try and answer all of them. What are the chances of 45,000 crore order book completion? And what if China was to come out with a policy that impacts India or Waaree in particular way? So first of all, on the order book, so they have advances of up to 20% of the order book. So that's roughly about 8,000 crores of advances, out of which half of it has been received, half of it is going to be received over the next 3, 4, 5 months. There is a schedule to it. But even before the first panel is delivered, they have about 20% of the advance coming through. So the chances of order book cancellation are not there. Now, the second question was on the how long will it take to execute this order book. So if you see this particular slide, it says the total order is about 17.5 gigawatts. And technically now they are already at 9-10 gigawatt kind of a capacity. If that is the case, they can actually deliver it in 1.5 years. However, the clients do have a certain schedule. They want it in a particular manner. So most of the schedule is still sometime in FY26. So delivery will be according to when the client wants it and not according to when we can execute it. So they have even capacity to take more orders for the current year if required and for all subsequent years. I hope that answers the question. Now, question regarding how should we think of China? So again, Varun made a lot of points about how geopolitics is driving everyone towards energy security, and energy security is driving everyone towards solar. And solar, again, people don't want to repeat the same question, same mistake of being too dependent on China. In fact, there was a proposal from China to, kind of not give the technology out, but it is going to hamper them only. China has grown to become 500 gigawatt over the last 10 years, but the world is going to add over 1.5 to 2 terawatts over the next 10 years. And Chinese companies will miss out on that opportunity if they block their own company from exporting. And as much as China needs the world is also dependent on China. So it is a very love-hate kind of a relationship where we will try to get the technology, at the same time not be too dependent on China. What we feel is that there is a space for a non-Chinese player to emerge in a big way, and we strongly believe First Solar and Waaree are those two candidates that can emerge in a big way. Then there was a question on FY23 net debt, EBITDA percent, net profit margin. I think Varun already shared those numbers, but net debt, it's almost a net cash company. There is probably a less than 100 crore kind of a working capital loan, if I am not mistaken. But again, don't hold me to it. All I can say is that it's a very, very low number. Okay, there was one question on the risk of new technology. So, as Varun also mentioned, these technology changes don't happen overnight. Of course, technology risk is there, but usually a line when ordered ends up paying itself in 2 to 3 years, and then you get another 2-3 years to sweat the line, and then phase itself out and you can replace the line. So it is not that your business model goes for a toss because of the technology risk. Yes, you have to depreciate the line fast enough, and then you get the new technology line. So for example, the move to TOPCon Waaree made was very, very recently, and TOPCon is the way the world is progressing towards. That's where all the China is going towards. HJT is another technology that Reliance is gunning for, but the economics are not yet finalized over there. That will probably happen 7, 8, 9 years from now. At that point of time, we would have sweated the TOPCon technology enough, is my opinion. So it is not something that will hit us out of the blue. Thumb rule capex for 1 gigawatt module is roughly about 150 crores. Waaree is frugal enough to achieve that at a lower number. Thumb rule for 1 gigawatt cell to module is about 2,800 crores, Varun?
Cell to module is 750, and
750, sorry. And from wafer to module is about 2,800 crores.
A wafer to module around 1,400 crores, and then we can polysilicon to module is 2,800 crores.
Okay, sorry, my bad. So yeah, so and whatever the numbers are, Waaree has managed to do those kind of capex at a lesser number.
Yeah.
So yeah, okay. Only Longi has good ROCE, rest are poor. That is not true. Longi and JA Solar has. Others are poorly managed, so their numbers are not good enough. However, Waaree has a track record of more than 10 years of having good ROCE and ROE numbers. Avada has raised $1 billion from Brookfield. This has not been raised for manufacturing solar panel, as I understand. This is for putting up solar plant. So they will be actually customers of the solar module manufacturers like Waaree.
That's right. Yeah.
Again, technology research. One question on the corporate structure. So Waaree Renewables is actually a subsidiary, 74% subsidiary of Waaree Energies. Waaree Energies is the parent, and Waaree Technologies is a group company, and it has a battery business. Waaree Renewables is an EPC business. There is one more, in fact, company, Indo Solar, which they have acquired through S.C.A.L.E, which is also which is about 97% subsidiary. Okay, then question on capacity versus order. Why is utilization so low? So most of the capacities came in towards the end of the last year, from October onwards. Hence, on an annualized basis, the utilization looks low. But if you look at it on a monthly basis, the utilization is constantly ramping up. So FY24 will be the first full year where these 9 gigawatt of nameplate capacity will be utilized to the full extent. Whether they end up doing 60, 65, 70% utilization, we don't know. But the full capacity will be available for utilization. Then there is a question on TOPCon. You answered 9 gigawatt is TOPCon. So only 1 or 1.5 gigawatt is the older technology. The slides, a lot of questions on will these slides be available? We'll make the slides available on our website. And you can go and check it out on www.valuequest.in.
We have Doshiji also joined in.
Yes. Why margins improved suddenly? Is it because of PLI? So, okay, PLI has not even kicked in yet. PLI will kick in post March 2025. They have only recently won an order in PLI. So the plant will be operational has to be operational before March of 25 for them to be eligible for PLI, and the benefits will accrue over the next 5 years after March 25. So no, the margin improvement is purely because of better priced orders and better utilization. Those are the two reasons why margins have improved. And of course, there was towards the end of last year, there was a price fall in the raw material that also bumped up the margins a little bit. Our cost of production versus Chinese players, I think currently we are at about, when I say our, I'm talking about Indian players, 7-8% disadvantage to the Chinese companies, but with backward integration into cell, wafer and ingot, that the cost arbitrage between the two countries will reduce to maybe less than 1-2%. So basically we'll be as competitive with China as we are, as we could be. And just to point out again, even when they were working with a disadvantage for the last 10 years, they managed to grow and they managed to do it keeping their balance sheet intact, and the return ratios were very good. Okay, what amount is being raised? We'll come to that. We'll discuss with Hitesh Bhai only. So if you can just allow Hitesh Bhai on, and then we can start with the Q&A.
Yeah. Hitesh Bhai, can you go on unmute or on your video? Yeah. Yes, Ravi, he's.
Hitesh Bhai, we can't see you.
Yeah, I'm trying to start, but it is saying that you cannot start your video because
okay, let me.
Varun, you will have to.
Yeah.
Host has stopped it.
Yes, now can you try, Hitesh Bhai? Yes.
Yeah. Thank you, Ravi Bhai and Varunji.
Thank you, Hitesh Bhai, for joining us. I know it is our pleasure, absolutely. First of all, congratulations on a fantastic FY23, and would love to hear from you a brief on what exactly happened in last 1 year. Your life seems to have changed. So if you can just in quick 5 minutes take us through that journey of what changed. Of course, overnight success usually takes 10 years. So for you, that moment arrived last year. So if you can just take us through that moment.
Right. Thank you, Rich, for inviting and making this presentation. And thank you all the participants who has joined for this call. and given your time. I think Ravi, it was not an overnight change. The team was working for almost 8-9 years, and we are waiting for the policies in a place as well as the scale and whatever the second supply chain the world was looking for, and not dependent on only one supply chain. Also, 2 years we had invested a lot. I will not say we lost the money in that business, but we invested to make this happen. So last 1 year, it was definitely uh, quite busy on the installation, and at the same time, you have to make sure that the deliveries are made on time.
Okay.
It was not only for the expansion. Normally in the factories, we do the expansion and the dispatches starts after the commercial production. But these two activities were going together. So that was, I will say, it was a big change during this time.
Okay. Okay, great. So, as I understand, and if I were to summarize, what you're saying is that during COVID, there was a huge fluctuation in the freight rates, and a lot of
Commodity
partners
prices.
actually went back on their word and did not supply, while we chose to supply even if it was at a loss, and that opened the floodgates. Of course, we were seeding the market and we were creating the ecosystem in the market, but it all suddenly started flowing through last year because we became a bankable partner, so to say.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Right, right. So, Hitesh bhai, a lot of people, when you think about module, start thinking in terms of, oh, this is very low value addition. Then there is a problem of, large competition from major conglomerates, and then there is China. How should an investor think about this? Finally, we are sidecar investors, and we are going to depend on you and your ability to navigate this terrain, while this terrain also looks very, very risky. So if you can just tell us how you have survived the last 10 years while the Chinese dumping was going on, how you have built this business, and why you are confident that Waaree will be a major player, major force to reckon with over the next 5-7 years.
Actually, module is not a low value addition. Actually, it is the highest value addition. For example, the core raw material sale is never more than a 55 to 60%. In a normal case of the module, it is a 50%. So there is a one myth behind it that the module is a low value addition. Actually, in the entire value chain, it is the highest value addition when it comes to the value. The second thing, customer is buying the module, so it is a final product. So what are the technology, quality, raw material specifications, all that he needs from the final product supplier, not our suppliers or our back-end value chain like a S.C.A.L.E or a wafer or ingot or polysilicon. How we have been when the 95% market was with the Chinese during this time, we had multiple players at the 5% market share in India. So Waaree has been working on the quality, certifications, bankability, and a lot of new products development during this time. And also constantly we were increasing our capacities. We started with the 30 megawatt, and pre-COVID we are at the 2000 megawatt. And at that time also it was the highest operational capacity in the country. So we were growing, we were developing the products, we were acquiring the customers, and whatever it was required. For example, on those days, it was required that in India, you don't have the very good testing facilities to make sure that your modules are up to the global standard. So we have invested on a large scale on a laboratory, and we developed the India's owned by the manufacturers, because government owns some labs, but owned by any manufacturer is the first accredited lab, and then the various certifications. Or when it came to the some high efficiency products, flexible products, or HJT technologies, we were first in the country to not only to develop, but to certify and export that.
Okay.
And that has
Okay.
helped us, Waaree, not to survive, but constantly grow and deliver.
Okay, great. No, so clearly managing the balance sheet through that turbulent period is a great achievement, because we know some of our peers and compatriots have not managed to do that, running up losses as well as debt. So something that always worries us investors. So fantastic job on that front. Now coming to this question on the technology front, how do you make that choice? How did you make that choice that Topcon is the one to go ahead with? And when will we, how do you manage to ride the trend in terms of next technology? Is that a big risk in your business, or is that something which you can see it coming and you just have to make the right choice at the right time?
See, in last 15 years, we have seen more than 5 cycles of the technology. When we started, the product was different. Today is different. So what we have learned is that whatever the product we are making, we should not target that the life will be more than 3 years. And with this philosophy, Waaree was always ahead, and it is today ahead on the technology curve compared to any other manufacturer. We were the first to get certified 650 watt, or first to make the TOPCon modules or flexible, whatever kind you call. And this we will continue in future. So any technology coming, for example, today a lot of discussion is going on TOPCon, HJT, multi-junctions, and much more about that. And this starts from the laboratory. Waaree works or the research houses or the good colleges, engineering colleges or research institutes. Waaree has been closely working with them, and we are constantly increasing our work with them. So definitely we know what other things are going in the market and what will come in commercial production. And we get prepared ourselves for that. For example, the TOPCon, we already have started receiving the equipments in India. And now China is talking about that in 2024. More than 65 production in China will be the TOPCon or global production, where the Waaree will start at the similar time, and our 80-85% production will be from the TOPCon. So we will keep doing it what we are doing for 15 years. Of course, we have to little bit increase the speed, and we will increase that.
Okay. Now, one thing that concerns us is that we are getting most of our material from China, while our end consumer is in US. So, is that a risk to us that maybe we, if US and China have a fallout, can we have to bear the brunt of it, because they might say that Chinese origin product or product from China is not allowed? How are we, mitigating that risk?
Today, our almost, I will say 75% material is coming out of China. And our goal is to reach that to the 100%. And I'm sure in the next 6 to 9 months, we will achieve that.
6 to 9 months, that's soon.
For example, cells are coming from outside China. Glasses are coming from outside the China. And the modules what we are supplying today, they all are glass to glass bifacial modules. So we don't need a backsheet. So the components we are dependent on China today is the EVA and junction box. And some small other items, but they are not large big. So that way, the EVA has started in India now. There are many manufacturers. We are testing them out. And junction box also started in India. And these are not two that critical items as of today, like only we need to bring them to the certain quality standard, and we'll work together with them and we'll get them.
Right. So on module front, we had a long learning curve. We've learned a lot, but now we are entering the backward integration in terms of cell as well as wafer and ingot. And these are new areas for us. Right. What is our learning experience? What gives us, why should an investor believe that, you will be able to become an expert in that technology, and how will you manage that transition for backward integration?
We have been involved in the entire value chain for 15 years. We were directly or indirectly, we are making the cells for more than 6-7 years. But yes, it is we will be doing first time ourselves. So what we have done is that we are not buying only the equipment. We are going to get the hands-on experience with them before the equipment arrives in India for 6 months. And after the equipment arrives in India, of course, there are some visa challenges and we are finding some solution to that. But there will be hundreds of the engineers from the various equipment suppliers inside our factory for the 2 years for not only handing over, but running a day-to-day operations and giving us the required delivery. So like that, some steps are taken by us to mitigate this risk. And this we have been doing in a module also. Whenever we bought, like I said, the 5 times we changed the technology. And every time it was a little bit different than earlier. And all the time we had the equipment suppliers and other people in the factory between 3 to 6 months.
Okay. So on the we as investors are always worried that when companies are private, it's more a family run, family organization, and now that you are looking to go public, can you tell us what are the steps that you have taken in the last 12-18 months to become a publicly listed company, and are we IPO ready? Do we have the second level of management? How our corporate governance standard and the board, and how we are improving on all those aspects?
No, thank you. Thank you. This is a very important thing, and I think that is the biggest challenge, I should admit also. We are going into the different level from the X to the 10X. The number of people, processes, and systems has been a main focus, as well as the corporate governance, ESGs, because our customers also needs now a lot more than the product and the product quality inside the company, sustainability and other things. So 5 months back, we have had the KPMG with the 5 major focus area and changing the entire organization. We moved to the new internal auditors, external auditors, that is the EY as external, KPMG as the internal, as well as the entire process in the organization for whatever we are doing. They both are helping us. KPMG has a very large contract from us. So a lot of people from the KPMG are inside the company, and they are helping us to take all the processes on this level. People has been the challenge, and we have had few more agencies. They are helping us for getting, because today there are 9,000 people, and we think we'll be going to the 15,000 plus people in the next few months. And of course, in 15,000, there will be the huge number of white collars, the senior leaders. So all this recruitment is going on, and I'm sure in next 6 to 8 months, we'll be using this. And technology side, we have moved a lot of our things to on Zoho. SAP HANA is now going to start the implementation. So a lot of digital side work has started, and other projects like our retail platform, Waaree electrician platform is ready now. So a lot of work is going on automation and technology also.
Great. Good to hear that those steps are being taken, because we will move from being a family to professional driven and driven organization, and also it will be far more answerable because we'll have a large base of investors as well. Okay. So a couple of last questions from my end. Varun put out a slide which said in 3 years time, if we were to reach those capacities and everything, will be 30,000 crore kind of a turnover with EBITDA margins in 16 to 18%. Now, of course, this is not a projection, and there is no guarantee of those things happening. Of course, there are execution risks and everything that goes ahead with it. But my question is more towards, all this were based on the module to backward integration story. The story about batteries or inverters, electrolyzers, hydrogen, all those are something that are new business initiatives that are still in seeding stage. And what is your thought process on that front? what kind of capital will be required? Do we have any kind of right to win in that space? What exactly are we thinking?
So we don't want to be only a solar company. We want to be the part and take a larger piece in the energy transition. And energy transition is going to be the everywhere we are using the energy. So companies working on a lot of new technologies. For example, batteries we are working for 4 years, and today successfully our batteries are working, not at a large scale since still we are working on it, but probably thousands of the two-wheelers are running with the Waaree batteries. Now it's time we think that we have done a good R&D, good testings, and some of the batteries are working very well. Now we have to scale up that, and not only for the automobile, but we have tested for telecom towers, resorts, where the power backup is required, large scale. And now we are working on a megawatt scale also. So customers are the same, market is the same. We just have to offer them more and more products. So in that range, we are working on the new technologies, different chemistries on the battery side, and we plan to come up in that also on a much larger scale. Similarly, on the electrolyzers, we are working with a few companies where to make the hydrogen, there will be a demand, in our opinion, for electrolyzers from our same customers. And probably in next 6 to 7 months, we will start some activities on the electrolyzer side. Of course, we got the first order from the Maharashtra to supply the hydrogen. So a lot of learnings will be also captured during the execution of this project on the green hydrogen side.
Okay.
And we will continue this with the various solutions offerings in the entire energy transition world.
Right.
And we are not capturing that numbers at this moment because still they are in a very nascent stage, very small businesses. Once they come up to the scale, which they will come in the next 1.5 year, we'll start discussing about their numbers also.
Right. No, so my question is more from the point of view of 5 years. Do you think we'll be able to make this shift away from solar module manufacturer to a energy transition company in 5-year horizon?
Very easily, yes, we will.
Okay. Yeah. No, I know that some of the opportunity is very, very large, but sometimes we overestimate what's going to happen in 1 year and underestimate what's going to happen in 5, 7, 10 years. So electrolyzers is a huge opportunity.
I agree with
sorry,
you.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I agree with you. Hydrogen may take some time, but today our customers are buying much more batteries than they are buying in terms of the value amount, the solar modules. So if I should have been ready with the batteries, probably the numbers what we are seeing today, they may be at least equal in the batteries. Because many countries has passed the regulation. Now in India, we are seeing a huge number of tenders. So solar power plants they need along with the batteries, and of course the batteries are more expensive.
Right. Right. So just one last question from my end on the corporate structure. So we already have Waaree Renewables listed. We have Waaree Technologies, which is listed. We have Indo Solar also, which is we acquired through NCLT. So what is the broad thought process on the corporate structure? Which are the businesses which are part of which company, and what is our plan maybe 3-5 years down the line? How do we consolidate the whole group structure?
I think that our business will be, one will be the large part of the manufacturing, another will be the solutions, and third maybe the small part for the supplying the energy. So all these companies are going to be in the energy only. Now it depends on the investors and the advice as we go ahead. They would like to have everything together. We are fine with that. They would like to have a manufacturing separate, and they would like to have EPC kind of the business, that is a solution business which we are going to offer as a separate. Depends on that, we will do it. As a promoter, we do not want more companies, but still it will depend on the investors' advices and their choices.
So what I'm hearing from you is that first of all, the three lines of business are different. One is a manufacturing business, one is a solution business, and one is a utility business.
Right.
Okay. And even then, even though they are all part of energy business, but they are still different business. And you will try to reduce the multiplicity of the corporate structure and collapse them as whatever the advice you get from the advisors, probably, but that will probably mostly happen post the listing of Waaree Energy.
They all are
Could
the
happen earlier also.
They end of the day, they all are the step down subsidiaries of the Waaree Energies.
Correct.
So if end of the day we decide all together to merge it, it will be quite easy also.
Right. So one last question on the plans to overall plans, capex plans, the capital requirement, and what is the plan? How are we planning to raise the funds, and is IPO on the horizon?
All right. The now phase 1 is under execution. That is a 5.4 and 12 gigawatt. And definitely for that, we are not looking any fundraise at this moment. The phase 2, where we are going to implement this PLI 6 gigawatt ingot to module value chain. For that, there will be investment between 8 to 8,500 crores. And for that, we are planning to raise a 1,000 crore in coming 2 weeks. And after that, in next 6 months, we are planning for the IPO between 1,500 to 2,000 crore of value. And what are the numbers we are talking about today for this year? Of course, they started coming in. I mean, today when we are comparing the last April to this April. So we think that till the first fundraise comes and till the IPO comes, we'll be able to demonstrate what we are committing for this year very easily also.
Great. Thank you so much for taking time off and answering all our questions. We will bother you if there are any more questions. Varun, you have any last question?
No, so just on the capex plan, you mentioned 8,000 crores of capex. So how are we going to, in terms of cash flows, if you could explain how are we going to fund that capex, the timeline of that capex would be interesting.
Yeah, the total capex will go in the next 2 years. The PLI has given us the time for the 2 years to start the. So some of the capex will be invested in next 3 to 4 months as advances or land or something. And then the equipment has its own time. The building construction will take some time. So the small payments will go during that time. But again, a year later from today, there will be a large capex requirement out of this. And before that, definitely the IPO and the debt will be taken. But as we have been working in the past, we will try. I'm not committing at all, but we'll try that we'll get the debt approval. But most of the capex will be funded by our customers.
Right. That's great.
So that may happen, and that discussions are going on at this moment.
Just two more in the same area, Atishbhai. We saw one company like First Solar order book has risen to next 5-6 years of capacity and 2.5 lakh crores of orders. So in terms of our pipeline, today order book is 45,000 crores. What could be the possibilities next few years in terms of orders and utilization?
We can take more orders, but taking the orders is also the some commitment. So we are becoming a little bit now picking up what we want and what we don't want. Choose and pick is going on.
Okay.
I think we have the countries, or I don't know if it is outside China, the largest sales force in the company.
Okay.
And the entire sales force is working on this. So I don't want to give any number today. Like we came back in the past, let me get the orders and then come back and inform you that this order is received. And as we say in solar, order is good, but till you don't get the advance, it is not the contract.
Right.
So there are some orders in pipeline, but we are waiting for some final advances from them. So we will come back to you in the next 1 month,
Right.
and probably we'll try to share with you month on month also what is the progress.
Hitesh bhai, we see a lot of low cost financing by DOE of US, green finance, very low cost of debt. Do we have any chance of one is ability for the customers to finance our capex and access to this low cost debt?
Yeah, we had several meetings, and there are US government has started, not started, I will say they started 2-3 years back, but they started pumping much more amount for the getting the alternate supply chain. For example, one corporation is the Development Finance Corporation called DFC. So like that, they have created few vehicles and they are offering a long-term, low-cost debt. So when I said we'll get the sanctions for the date, probably they will try there also.
Okay.
Further, the development banks, they have also started financing manufacturing. So we will work with them also and get this done.
Right. Just final bit, I think we have ambitions to put up US manufacturing also, and US is providing those kind of incentives. If you could share some ballpark why and what are the economics of setting up US manufacturing?
First of all, there is no economics. That is made in America. And, and now, if you go back to the real economics, what may come, the Inflation Reduction Act says that if you make a solar module right from the polysilicon to the module, the subsidy, the entire subsidy on that is going to be the equal to the cost of the module.
Okay, that's great.
All right. And the user who is going to use a made in America product, he will get the additional advantages.
Mhm.
The supply chain disruption in the last 3 years has been a discussion in across the globe, what they do for their energy security, what they do to secure their supply chain. And I call the local word here is the deglobalization is started now, where everybody wants to make, not only make in India, but everywhere this is started. Our customers, why we are going there now to answer, our customers are giving us a long-term contract, substantial capital to start this units in United States. And also with the pricing, the way we are looking forward, because we know the US manufacturing cost now after studying for almost 1 year. So we are working with them, and probably once we sign the agreement, we'll move very fast in US also. And this will be the 2 gigawatt starting facility now. And based on that, we'll keep on increasing that.
Right.
So if you achieve your 18 gigawatt in next 2.5 years time, you will be the largest non-Chinese solar module manufacturer in the world.
I don't know.
You will be on par with the, if not very close, number 2, if not number 1.
Right. I don't want to say that I will be large number 1 or large number 2, but we will be definitely having a substantial volume to negotiate with our suppliers and to reach to the better economic.
Right. No, I think the future looks bright, and I think, I mean, we cannot say it any better. There is a bright future ahead, and it is absolutely one with the sun, as your tagline goes. I think we have a large mega trend that is panning out, and Waaree is riding that trend very well. Thank you so much, Hitesh bhai.
Thank you
so much, and thank you everyone for joining in. Just if you have any query related to the co-investment, please email on coinvest@valuequest.in, and we will be making this recording as well as the slides available on our website in a day or so. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.